Welcome to Stache Sports episode 30. Paul Skeens, one of the greatest power pitchers to play in baseball today. Paul Skeens, one of the greatest power players. I hope we have a good career with him until he leaves us. But Paul Skeens is one of the greatest power pitchers and wears number 30 in Pittsburgh sports. Also, today we broke up the reports in Pittsburgh sports of Mike McCarthy becoming the next Steelers head coach. I did not agree with this at all. I do not think it's a good hire. I know he did good. I know he did have good offense in Green Bay and Dallas, and that's something that we suffered, especially in that playoff game when we only can score 6 points. But we'll see what happens to that. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I don't know if it's a good hire. I think they should have gotten younger and got Shula or Nate Shieldhouse from the Rams, but we'll see. Right now, it's according to reports. We will have more in-depth discussion about this hire once it becomes true. Hopefully, if this hire does become true, he can bring in a good quarterback. I don't know. We need another year of Aaron Rodgers, but we might be getting another year of Aaron Rodgers. Let's see what happens to that. We'll see what happens to that, but I don't think it's a good hire. Even though he was good at Dallas, but couldn't win a playoff game in Dallas, he did win one Super Bowl against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's not why I have a bitter sword. I just think the NFL is going in the direction of younger coaches, in my opinion. But we will see what happens. Hopefully he can do what he did with Aaron Rodgers and make a good quarterback. Whoever that quarterback is, if that's Will Howard or somebody that they need to find in the draft or a free agency that's young. We need to have a young quarterback that they can build up, and maybe Mike McCarthy's that answer. Who knows with this ownership, but if they do hire Mike McCarthy, I guess they trust him. I don't think it's a good hire. I don't know if it's much of a step up from Mike Tomlin, in my personal opinion, but we will see what happens. We will see what happens with that. We will have more discussion on Mike McCarthy and the Steelers once it becomes official. Right now, it's just reports. And yes, I know according to Adam Schefter and a lot of these reports will become true. But once he signs the papers and has a director press conference, we'll have more on this conversation. But as of right now, early reactions, I don't think it's a good hire. I don't know. But hopefully he can get a good offense. He did have good offenses in Green Bay and Dallas, like I've said, but we'll see. In other sports news today, that we have left off because we didn't have an episode yesterday. The Ravens hired young defensive coordinator Jesse Mitten from the Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Mitten to be their next head coach. That might be a good hire. And also Eric Bieniemy is coming back to become the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator. That might be a good hire too. We'll see what happens to the Steelers and if they eventually do hire Mike McCarthy. I think they should have waited and talked to Chris Shula and other coaches before they made a rash decision. I don't know. I don't agree with it, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens to that. Another sports news, the Pittsburgh Penguins came off a big win against the Edmonton Oilers, against former goaltender Tristan Jarry. They scored 3 goals really fast against Tristan Jarry and looking really good right now. The Penguins are on a roll, winning the 3 games on the West Coast. They play again tomorrow. Let's hope they continue their winning ways. They're looking really hot right now, looking like one of the better teams in all of hockey. Crosby and Malkin are waking up. Malkin's having one of his better careers this year for the Penguins. Let's hope they can re-sign for next year, but we'll see what happens to that. We'll see what happens to that. But by winning 6-3, it was a good, or winning 6-1, whatever the score was a good game for the Penguins. Good win in Edmonton. Even though Stuart Skinner didn't play, Slovis looks really good in net and really blocked a lot of the goals that Edmonton was shown. But the Penguins are looking really good, and they have a day off again today and play again tomorrow. Let's hope they can win and continue their winning ways. But we'll see what happens to that. We'll see how that happens. Tonight, another wrestling is WWE Saturday Night's main event, which is a glorified Raw or SmackDown. My picks for tonight's Saturday Night's main event are Cody Rhodes over Jacob Fatu. I think Cody Rhodes bounces back after losing the title he fought for so hard to Drew McIntyre, and I think he bounces back and beats Jacob Fatu unless there is interference from somebody. But we will see if there's interference. I think Sami Zayn wins over Shinsuke Nakamura because unless Gunther comes out and tries to interfere, but even if Gunther comes out and tries to interfere, I still think Sami Zayn is going to win. AJ Styles is going to win over Shinsuke Nakamura. The main event tonight is a fatal 4-way between Randy Orton, Trick Williams, Sami Zayn and Damian Priest to decide who fights Drew McIntyre at Royal Rumble for his title event. I think, even though I want Randy Orton to win, because I really like Randy Orton, I think it's in the cards right now for Sami Zayn to win. Even if Sami Zayn doesn't win right away at the Royal Rumble, that's going to be in Saudi Arabia, I think he wins later on down the road. He wins later on down the road. And finally gets his championship belt, but they're going to try to make that defeat between Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn, in my opinion. We'll see what happens with that. Also, we have Liv Morgan over Rhea Ripley and Io Sky for the tag team champions. I think Liv and Roxanne win the championships tonight and upset the Picks tonight and become champions, because I think it's time to see what they can do with the Judgment Day. Because with Raquel Rodriguez trying to fight for individual belt, I think somebody's going to end up breaking up in the Judgment Day. So I don't know if that's going to happen tonight, but I think Raquel and Liv win the championship before that happens. But we will see what happens with that. We will see. Also tonight, for the first time ever in a long time, UFC 324 is live tonight on Paramount Plus. And if you have a Paramount Plus subscription, you do not need to pay extra like you've had in years past to watch UFC. Here are my picks tonight. And yes, I know I'm reading off a paper, but I need to know people's names. I think Paddy Mabadi wins over Justin in the title thing. I think Sean O'Malley beats Yadong. Sean O'Malley's going to beat Yadong. Oh, wait. Excuse me. Let's go back. I think Paddy Mabadi beats Justin, but I think that goes to distance, and Paddy wins by split decision. I think Sean O'Malley knocks out Yadong in the second round. I don't think Yadong stands a chance against Sean O'Malley. I think Derek Lewis beats Waldo, but goes to the third round, and might be a split decision or unanimous decision on that one. I think Natalia Silva beats Rose. I think Rose Namajunas beats Natalia, even though I like Natalia. I think that's going to come down to the wire. I think Gene Silva beats Arnold, but I think that's going to be a first round knockout. But we'll see what happens to that. Amar beats, God Lord. Amar beats his person, but that's going to be a close fight. But we will see what happens to that. I think Gatier beats Andrea, but we'll see. I don't know. I think Johnson beats Alex, and I think Hernandez beats Michael Johnson in a knockout. I think TJ Miller knocks out Adam, and Josh knocks out Denzel, and Freeman wins his fight in a close one. But we'll see. It's going to be an interesting fight tonight for UFC. The first fight that's not a pay-per-view event. I think, like I said, I think Paddy wins in the close one. That's the main one. I think Sean O'Malley knocked out Yadong in the first or second round. I think Waldo knocks out Derek in the first or second round. But we'll see what happens. These are just my picks, and yes, I know they could be wrong, and I could be wrong. I need to start back watching UFC. That's a good sporting event. I really hope Paddy Mabadi wins, because that's one of my favorites. That's one of the ones I can remember from watching them back when I used to watch. So I hope Paddy Mabadi wins his fight tonight. It'll be interesting to see what happens to that. Also, it'll be interesting to see. But now we have the fights. And later on this year, we're going to have a fight on the White House grounds, which is going to be historical, groundbreaking. Something you've never seen before. So glad that UFC's finally on a streaming service. They don't have to pay extra to watch their fights. Now, I think that's going to change. That changes the industry forever. Let's see if Paddy Mabadi wins tonight. Let's see if Paddy Mabadi wins tonight. I think Miller beats Adam. I think Freeman beats Josh, and I think Hernandez beats Michael Johnson. But I think these are going to be close fights. I think Perez beats Charles Johnson in a knockout, but we'll see. Hopefully there are knockouts. We'll see how good the fights are tonight. It's going to be interesting to see who wins. Hopefully Paddy Mabadi can continue and get his belt if that's a title fight. Because I really like Paddy O'Malley, or Sean O'Malley can win. O'Malley, he is a great fighter too. He is an up-and-comer. Let's hope Sean O'Malley can win. Let's hope Sean O'Malley can win. But we'll see what happens. Like I said, I think Cody Rhodes beats Jacob Fatu in the Saturday night's main event. But we'll see. I wonder if it's going to be any interference or somebody coming back. I don't know if anybody come back this soon because we do have a Royal Rumble coming up soon. But we'll see if anybody decides to show up for WWE's Saturday night's main event later on when I watch it. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think Sami Zayn wins, but I don't know if he's going to win at the Royal Rumble. But we'll see what happens with that. Like I said before, I don't agree with the hire of Mike McCarthy if it is true, and I don't think it's a good hire. I think it might set the franchise back, but we'll see. Hopefully he can get good offensive coaches and good defensive coaches if it is true. We'll see what happens, and hopefully we can get a good quarterback in the future because that's something we need, and we need more receivers to help whoever quarterback is. But we will talk more about that later. Tomorrow, if we have a video, if I'm not in the blackout from the storm that's coming up here, we'll talk about my NFL picks. We'll talk more in depth about my NFL picks, but I think it's going to be the Broncos. We'll talk more about that tomorrow if I have power. I can be able to do a video. But we'll see what happens to that. I think hopefully the UFC fights are good tonight, and Paddy wins. And somebody's fights are good, and they go to distance. I think the O'Malley fight and the other fights might go to distance, but we'll see what happens with that. I think Paddy O'Malley wins, like I said, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll talk more about the NFL news and breaking news later on in tomorrow's video and my NFL picks for divisional championship and see who goes to the Super Bowl tomorrow. Let's see who goes to the Super Bowl tomorrow. I don't think Mike McCarthy is a good hire, but we'll see. Hopefully I'm wrong, but we'll see if it's true. And we'll talk more about that later on in the video this week. Enjoy the UFC fight tonight. Let's see if Paddy can win over Justin. If Sean O'Malley can win over Yadong. Derek Lewis over Waldo. Natalia Silver over Rose Nunez. Gene Silver versus Gene over Arnold. Omar over Ferguson. Vertigo. Well, we'll see. Thank you for watching Stache Sports. Enjoy your night and enjoy your sports. Enjoy your night. If you have any comments, please leave them below. Thank you for watching Stache Sports episode 30.